Location: Franklin Pines National Forest, northern Washington. The old ranger station stood in the middle of a pine grove, an hour and a half's walk from the nearest town. Jack Caldwell, 52, a retired ranger and current caretaker, had been living here alone for 10 years. The morning began as usual. A fire in the stove, coffee on the stove, the radio crackling in the background. Jack was about to head into the woods to check the traps. But then, a sound. Not one he was used to in the woods. Not a deer bellowing, not a coyote howling, and definitely not a tourist's motor. It was a human scream, distant, hoarse, and it stopped instantly. Jack froze. Such things were not uncommon in the forest. Injuries, encounters with bears, falls from cliffs. But something in that scream made his heart stop. He grabbed his Remington rifle, checked his equipment, and went outside. When Jack approached the old observation tower, he found the first traces: a torn jacket, a piece of fabric, red stains. Everything led in the direction of the river. And more, traces of bare feet. Small, bloody, scattered in different directions. And then, a second sound. Again, a human voice, but this time, a wheeze. As if something was choking, but couldn't stop. He gripped his rifle tighter and moved into the shade of the trees. Near the riverbank, Jack found an overturned boat, and next to it, a young woman convulsing. She was covered in blood. "Hey, can you hear me?" He rushed over to her. She opened her eyes, and Jack saw something he would never forget. Her eyes were gray, dull, dead. And then she bit him. The woman jumped at him with such ferocity that Jack barely had time to react. She bit his shoulder, but his thick jacket reduced the force of the bite. Still, the pain shot through his shoulder, and he pushed her away with the butt of his rifle. "Get off me, you idiot!" he shouted, not recognizing his own voice. She fell, but immediately began to get up, like a puppet being pulled by strings. He fired, a shot to the chest. She staggered, but did not fall. Only when he aimed at her head did she freeze. Blood flooded the rocks, and Jack stood there, trembling. What the hell is this? He looked around as if someone could answer him. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and sat down on a log. He checked his shoulder, a bruise, but no broken skin. Lucky. Then his radio suddenly came to life. "I repeat, all posts, mass attacks reported in the Silver Pine area. Unknown virus. The infected are aggressive. Shoot only in the head. I repeat, only in the head." Jack stared at the radio as if it were an alien. Then his instincts took over. If they're already here, it means it's going to get worse soon. He returned to his cabin and packed an emergency backpack. Small blue diamond ammunition. Small blue diamond knives. Small blue diamond first aid kit. Small blue diamond food for 3 days. Small blue diamond water bottle. Small blue diamond radio. Small blue diamond map of the area. And most importantly, a hunting sniper rifle, a gift from the army. From the tower, Jack looked through binoculars at the road to the town. And then he saw the first zombies were walking slowly along the forest path. 6 of them. 1 was dressed as a rescuer. 2 were children. Jack froze. Then he quietly said to himself, "They're coming here. And I'm alone." He loaded his rifle. He took aim. And he pulled the trigger. The first bullet blew the head off the zombie in the rescue worker's uniform. The others stopped instantly. It was as if something inside them had shut down and then restarted. And then they ran. "Damn it," Jack muttered, slamming the observation tower window shut and grabbing his close-range weapon. Thump, thump, thump. Footsteps echoed on the stairs. The wooden tower shook under the pressure of the crowd. Jack threw a homemade smoke grenade down. He had experience with forest fires and knew how to quickly fill a confined space with smoke. But the smoke only disoriented the zombies. It didn't stop them. He rushed to the roof, an old attic with a hatch underneath. He opened it, jumped inside, and threw a cabinet over the opening. His heart was pounding like a drum. The zombies were breaking in. Knocking, roaring, scratching, wheezing. Jack squeezed between the beams, his sniper rifle on his chest like a child with a favorite toy. 9:10. He heard something start to gnaw at the wood. Their teeth were scraping the old varnish off the beams. Gradually, for the first time in many years, Jack felt real fear. Not fire, not bears. But this silence between spasmodic roars. Hungry, fierce, deadly. Everything fell silent. The zombies were gone. But Jack didn't come out. He lay motionless for another half hour until he was sure they were really gone. Then he carefully climbed down, keeping his weapon at the ready. The hut was intact, but the windows were scratched and the door was hanging on one hinge. He propped it up with a cabinet. In the pantry, there were 3 cans of food, half a loaf of bread, and 2 bottles of water. That would be enough for a day, but no more. Suddenly, the radio crackled. If anyone is in the Franklin Pines area, please respond. This is the fire station at Station 9. We are barricaded, and there are wounded. I repeat. Jack jumped to his feet. The fire station was 12 miles through the forest. He got up, took the rifle off the hook, and said quietly, "I'm going." Jack put the map on the table. There were 2 routes to the fire station. The main road, fast but dangerous. The zombies could already be on the highway. Through the ravine and the old forest. Longer, but quiet. Unlikely to encounter many walkers. He chose the latter. Better slow than dead, he said to himself. Jack had walked the first mile and a half when he heard screams. He crouched down, crept up to the clearing, and saw 2 teenagers surrounded by 4 zombies. Another boy was already lying on the ground, and 2 others were desperately waving baseball bats. Jack took aim. 1 shot. The first zombie falls. Second, another one. The kid stopped. Third shot, right in the eye. The last zombie was finished off with a bat. The boy with the bat looked back and froze when he saw the man with the rifle. "Calm down. I'm one of you. Follow me if you want to survive," Jack said. There were now 3 of them. Jack, a boy named Connor, 17, and his girlfriend Emily. Her brother had died in the clearing. Both were injured but able to move. "We don't have parents. They're in the city. We ran away when it all started," Connor explained in a trembling voice. "The main thing now is to survive. Then we'll look for the rest." In the ravine, they had to climb over a fallen tree. Jack helped Emily climb over. Then Connor. And when he climbed over himself, he heard a crack behind him. Something was moving in the bushes. "Quiet," he whispered, putting his hand on his backpack where the smoke grenade was. 3 figures emerged from the forest. But they weren't zombies, they were armed men. One of them, wearing a black vest, shouted, "Are you civilians? Show your hands." They were from the National Guard, who had fled from a destroyed post. Only 3 remained. They had no communication and were heading for the same station Jack had heard about on the radio. "We heard there's a medic there." "We have a wounded man," said the sergeant, pointing to a pale man with a bandaged shoulder. Jack nodded. Now there were 6 of them, and they all looked in one direction, where, 6 miles through the forest, was Station 9. The group moved cautiously. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. "This is bad," Sergeant Brooks muttered. "When the birds are silent, something's wrong." Jack raised his hand. Everyone stopped. He dropped to one knee and pulled out his binoculars. On the hill ahead, he could see the roof of the fire station. But something was wrong. The gate was broken. The car was overturned. The door was wide open. "We're too late," he said quietly. They approached the station. Bodies and zombies. Lots of zombies. Most of them dead, with bullets in their heads. Someone screamed inside. "The living." Jack and Brooks rushed forward, the rest covering them. The door was barricaded with cabinets, but it was still holding. "Friend, open up," Jack shouted. 10 seconds later, the door opened. 2 people, a medic and a female firefighter, both exhausted. "There were 10 of us. Only 2 left," said the woman. "We held out until morning." But they didn't stop. ever. The wounded soldier was examined. The bullet had passed through, but the infection was already setting in. The medic gave him an antibiotic injection, but said honestly, he needs to go to the hospital. Otherwise, it's amputation or death. The hospital? It's 15 miles to the east. Through the city. Through hell. Jack wiped his forehead. He felt like everything was falling apart, but he gathered the people together. We won't give up. We can still live in this forest. If we stick together, we'll survive. They found an old diesel generator in a shed near the station. There wasn't much diesel, but enough to charge the radio. Jack established communication and heard a voice. This is Fort Houston Air Base. We are establishing a perimeter. We are accepting survivors. Make it by 6 p.m. After that, the evacuation will be closed. Everyone looked at Jack. Make it. In 5 hours. Through 20 miles of forest and ruins. With the wounded. With teenagers. With zombies. Or stay and wait for death. We're leaving in 20 minutes, Jack decided. I'll take you there. They set off. 7 people, one of them wounded, 2 teenagers, 1 medic, 1 firefighter, 2 soldiers, and Jack. The group walked along the stream, avoiding roads. Time was running out, but encountering large hordes would mean the end. Everyone had a weapon, even Connor and Emily. Jack didn't want the children to kill, but the world was different now. There were no more rules. They stopped for a short break at an abandoned hunting camp. They found 2 cans of food, a pack of bandages, and, most importantly, a flashlight with batteries. Clouds were gathering. It could start raining. Sergeant Brooks pulled out an old map. Jack pointed to a path that led to an abandoned highway and from there to a railway bridge across the river. The bridge is narrow, but it's a short way to the base. If it's still standing, Jack said. The silence of the forest was broken by a rumble. A helicopter. They ran out into the clearing and saw a black helicopter hovering over the road. But it didn't land. Instead, someone shouted into a loudspeaker. Too many infected. Hold the perimeter. Anyone with a radio, stay in touch. Then there were shots, and the helicopter disappeared behind the trees. That was our last air support. Brooks muttered. Connor covered his ears, as if he didn't want to believe that now they were completely alone. They came across a farm, a burned yard, cars with blood-stained windows. But there was a pickup truck in the yard. Jack and Brooks carefully inspected the area. Inside the house were bodies, but not zombies. People who had committed suicide. Each had a bullet in the temple. They chose death over this hell, Jack said. The keys were in one of the men's pockets. The fuel tank was half full. The pickup truck was in working order. As they prepared to leave, the forest filled with sounds. Roars, squeaks, and the pounding of dozens of feet. A horde of zombies was heading toward the farm. Jack didn't wait. Everyone in the pickup truck. The wounded soldier lay on the seat. Jack was behind the wheel. Brooks and the medic were shooting from the windows, repelling the first attackers. The engine roared. The pickup truck broke through the gate. Behind them was a burning farm and a dark wall of forest. They disappeared into the green thicket, leaving only ashes behind. The pickup truck stopped near a forest clearing. Ahead was a narrow path to an old footbridge that crossed the Blackwater River. We can't drive through. We'll have to walk from here, Jack said. He glanced at his watch. It was less than 2 hours until 6 p.m. Connor supported the wounded soldier. He was no longer afraid. His eyes were serious, like those of an adult. The bridge was rusty but still standing. Underfoot were planks. On both sides was an abyss and dark water. Somewhere behind them was a rustling sound. They were not alone. A rumbling sound. First one, then another. They're coming after us, cried the firefighter. Jack turned around. There were dozens of zombies on the path. Slow but determined. To the bridge. Quick. The group was already in the middle of the bridge when the first zombie stepped onto it. The forest beneath them groaned under the pressure. And suddenly, crack, One of the wooden planks under Connor collapsed. The boy screamed and hung over the river. "Hold on." Jack rushed back and grabbed his arm. The zombies were already 10 meters away. Brooks covered them, firing bursts. "Pull," he shouted. Jack pulled Connor out. He was breathing heavily, but was unharmed. The bridge groaned under the load. They had to keep going. On the other side of the bridge was an abandoned station that served as a shelter. They barricaded the door, set up smoke grenades, found at the fire station, and prepared for the final push, 8 miles to base. Jack heard a familiar voice on the radio. "This is Fort Houston. 75 minutes until evacuation. Report your coordinates if you are on the road. This is the Forest Group, 8 miles northwest. We are on foot. We have a wounded man on a stretcher." "Understood. We will try to send a vehicle to meet you. No guarantees. Time is short. Over and out." Jack looked at his people, exhausted, tired, frightened, but alive. 8 miles. It seems like an eternity, but we've already gone through hell. And we'll get there, he said. "As long as I'm breathing, none of you will die." The sun slowly disappeared behind the clouds. Ahead lay the final push. Leaving the abandoned station, Jack led the group onto an old forest road, cracked asphalt overgrown with grass. It was the only direct route to the airbase. But it was open, and if the zombies came out of the forest, there would be nowhere to hide. "We have to move fast. No stops," Jack ordered. The group stayed close together. 2 carried a stretcher with a wounded man. Connor walked beside Jack, silent for the first time that day. Ahead of them was an overturned bus, smoking. On both sides were bodies. Fresh ones. An ambush? Or just bad luck? Brooks whispered, clutching his rifle. Suddenly, a growl came from behind the bus. A zombie, but not an ordinary one. Large, sinisterly contorted, as if grown from the bodies of several people. "Damn! A mutant!" someone shouted. Jack reacted instantly. "Fire! Aim for the head." Brooks and the others opened fire. The mutant staggered but did not fall. Its skin was like armor. It grabbed one of the firefighters and threw him aside. The man flew 10 meters. "Dead. Back. Behind the bus." Jack ordered. Everyone ran. Connor threw a smoke grenade on the run. The mutant lost its bearings. Brooks fired his under-barrel grenade launcher. A direct hit. The explosion tore the body in half. The spine cracked. Blood flooded the asphalt. "Silence. No time," Jack reminded them. "For more miles." Suddenly, over the radio. "This is Patrol 17 from Fort Houston. We're picking up your signal. We have you in our sights. Hang in there a little longer." A drone flew over the trees. A voice came from the sky. "We see you. The convoy is approaching. Prepare to land." "We're not going to die here," Jack shouted. "Everyone, follow me." Around the bend, the silhouettes of military jeeps and armored personnel carriers were visible. Jack raised his hands, a signal to his own people. One by one, the group ran to the vehicles. The medics were already waiting. The wounded were taken away on stretchers. Connor was put in an armored personnel carrier. "You're a hero," Jack said to the boy. "You're a real fighter." Everyone was exhausted, but alive. Jack looked at the horizon. The forest that had been his home that morning was now the border between life and death. He climbed aboard the last jeep. The gates of the airbase were already visible ahead. "Just a few more minutes," he whispered. "We did it." The gates of Fort Houston Air Base swung open, letting the convoy through. "Everyone stay in the vehicle until the inspection." The commander's voice boomed over the loudspeaker. Armed soldiers in protective suits surrounded the vehicles. No panic, clear and coordinated, professionals. Jack and Connor were taken out first. "Are you civilians?" "I'm a forester." "This is my son." "No. Not my son. Just a boy I rescued." The soldier looked closely at Jack. "You have military bearing. You served." "Once. A long time ago." Everyone was taken to the quarantine hangar. They were given water and blankets and examined. The medics worked silently and quickly. Jack was concerned about the wound on his shoulder, a bite mark, albeit superficial. It's not transmitted through the skin if there's no blood, right? He asked. The doctor looked serious. We don't know for sure, but we need to keep an eye on it. Jack nodded. He wasn't afraid of death, but he was afraid of becoming one of them. Brooks approached with a walkie-talkie. Command wants to talk to you. They say someone from intelligence wants to talk to you. What do they want with a forest ranger? Jack shrugged. You led the group out of hell, and you're the first one who saw the mutant. They want to hear what you saw. Jack sighed. His day had already been too long. In the temporary headquarters office, there was a table, a map, and monitors. Everything was new, just set up. The commander was a colonel in a gray uniform. Mr. Carter, thank you for your actions. We don't have much time, so let's get straight to the point. They showed him photos, mutated zombies, infected animals, burned-out cities. You were at the epicenter. What can you tell us about the behavior of the infected? They don't run, at first, but at night they become more aggressive. And the mutants are no longer just infected. Something is changing them. Quickly. The colonel nodded. We have orders to begin clearing the areas around the base tomorrow. We want you to be the guide for our mobile group. You are our eyes in the forest. Jack was silent. Then he said simply, I'm not a soldier, but I won't just let this go. He went out onto the roof of the hangar. The sun was already setting. The forest was darkening, like a black sea. Connor sat down next to him. Thank you for not abandoning me. You are not like the others. Jack didn't answer right away. He just looked at the sky. I was alone. Now we're not alone. But tomorrow there will be another battle. And we have to be ready. They sat in silence. Only the wind swayed the flag above the base, the only symbol of order in a world falling apart. At night, the forest was different. Cold, silent, full of hidden dangers. Jack led a small group of Special Forces soldiers, 6 fighters in full gear, thermal imaging devices, silent rifles, complete control. But even they moved quietly, like hunters, because now they were being hunted too. Contact at 3 o'clock, whispered a soldier. A dark silhouette moved in the undergrowth. It didn't roar or run. It crawled, almost like a beast. Jack raised his hand. Don't shoot. It's not one of them. It's listening. And suddenly, a rumble. Another group in the west opened fire. The entire rotation moved. Dozens of creatures poured out of the forest. The night battle began. The zombies were faster and smarter. Some of them bypassed the flanks and attacked suddenly. One of the soldiers, Blake, disappeared into the darkness. Only a scream remained. Back to the evacuation point, shouted the sergeant. But Jack did not retreat. That's not all. They're luring us deeper, away from the base. I saw it. It's a trap. And then it appeared. A mutant, over 2 meters tall, with skin as black as charred bark, long limbs and eyes. Intelligent. Fury in every movement. Jack fired first, a shot to the shoulder. Then the soldiers fired. But it only made it angrier. Then Jack rushed forward with a grenade. Cover me, he shouted. He crawled up to the roots, pressed the grenade against the mutant's body, and pulled the pin. The explosion sounded like a rupture in time itself. Branches flew, bodies fell, the earth shook. The soldiers picked up Jack. He was wounded, but alive. One of the soldiers ran up, his face pale. Are you crazy? Maybe. But it's dead, right? Indeed. The mutant was burned to ashes, torn to pieces. A new countdown began. Everyone at headquarters was silent as they listened to the report. He destroyed a Class A target single-handedly? Asked the colonel. Yes, sir. And he warned us about the flanking trap. Without him, there would have been fewer survivors. The colonel looked at the map. Then he looked at Jack. The world has changed, and we need people who know how to survive. Are you with us, Mr. Carter? Jack looked at Connor, standing next to him. Then he looked up at the night sky. I'm with you. but in my own way, because this is my forest.